discussing the difference between American and British English. So, Anne-Marie, what do you have for us?
Well, Inamara, I thought we do know generally nowadays with a lot of Netflix and American TV series, a lot of different vocabulary.
Yes.
So I thought, let's look at some of the things my students find difficult in class.
Right.
Because maybe they've learnt American English. If they're from Asia, certain countries, Korea, Japan, China, Brazil, you learn American English.
Yes, you do.
So it's not just vocabulary, we're going to look at grammar, spelling, pronunciation, as well as a bit of vocabulary.
I told you this was the best class on the subject. So where are we starting?
Well, I'm going to start at a big difference using the present perfect.
Right.
Now the present perfect uses have, has, and a past participle. So, for example, we say, I've lost my key in English. And have you seen it?
Have you seen it? So this is the structure of it.
Yeah, it's the present perfect simple.
Okay.
Have you seen it? I've lost it.
Okay.
And in American English, they don't say that. They just use the simple past where they say, I lost my key. Did you see it?
So they don't really use it that much as you guys use here.
No.
Right.
So that's one of the big problems a lot of students get confused about.
They do.
Yeah, so in British English we use it all the time. It's really one of the most used tenses because it joins the past with the present. And for the news, it's always in the present perfect. Everything's explained a lot of the time. So it's one of the first tenses people need to learn to be British or to sound British. Another use of the present perfect is when we use the word already.
Right.
So we say, she's already eaten.
She's already eaten.
Yeah, which means it's happened before.
Right.
Or already means earlier or previously.
Okay.
Americans tend to use this expression in a way such as, just stop already. Do it already. And it's used to express impatience.
I've never thought about that.
And with the present tense.
Can you imagine using already in the present tense?
Finish up already.
That's different.
Yeah, so it just means hurry up.
Hurry up.
Do
That's
it
the same
quickly.
thing. Okay.
So it doesn't mean earlier or previously. So that's a big difference.
This is new for you. I guess you've never heard about it. But see, you're here to learn with us. So, what's the next?
Right, the next thing is the use of prepositions.
Right.
So British, we like to say at the weekend or at weekends, at Easter, at Christmas, because it's that period.
Right.
But Americans use on because they're thinking of the day, on weekends, on Easter, on Christmas.
You see, I learned to use on. So I would never think that at, it is actually right, it's not wrong. So you can use at and you can use on, they're both correct. Just bear in mind that they are mainly used in different places. So
exactly, and I tell students it's not wrong, but just be aware. If you're going to use American English, you stick to American English.
you see?
And if you're doing an exam or going to university in England, you might want to use British English.
Absolutely, very good.
If you're here for a long stay. Then the one that got me, really confused me, was different. Now in England, I've always said different to.
Right.
So your accent is different to mine.
Right.
Then a lot of people say it's different from the other one.
Yes, but you're comparing it, right?
Yeah, so you're just looking at the differences and then different from that. I still say different to. All my life I've said different to.
Right.
Yeah, but from makes sense to me as well.
Okay.
Even though it's the opposite, to and from.
Exactly.
But it's logical in British, the British mind, yeah?
So in America they would mainly say from. They wouldn't
That's
say
right. But they've got another one that I never use, and I watched it on Netflix.
Yes.
And I watched it on one of my favourite TV programmes, which is quite highbrow, a lawyer, a legal programme. She said different than.
That's the one I use.
Yeah, and I was like, her grammar's terrible. Or, hang on, my grammar's terrible. What am I teaching? So I had to stop the DVD. I had to check it in the dictionary, and I found out it was American.
So you see, usually we Brazilians, we tend to learn more the American way of talking, and this is what I learned when I was studying. But now I can see there's a big mix. There are many ways to say that, so if you didn't know that, now you know.
Both Americans and Brits say different from. So if you get stuck,
So confusing.
stick with from. I say different to, and you say
different than.
there you go.
Perfect.
Now, you and I in America, we get on well with each other.
We do,
yeah?
definitely.
Which means we have a good relationship, a nice connection and rapport.
Yes.
Now, Americans don't say get on well with.
What do they say?
Get along well with.
Why? Why do they have to do it so differently? I mean, get on, get along, especially with the verb to get, right? There are so many ways to use it. But in this case, you can use both of them on the same sense, right?
Yeah, I think we understand each other. Get along. And we can also say, how are you getting on? It means, how are you progressing with something?
Right.
And I think Americans say, how are you getting along with that? So, get along is the American, get on. Get on with your work, get on with a person, British.
All right, bear that in mind.
And we call that a phrasal verb.
Phrasal verb.
Yeah.
All right.
Now, the next thing I want to tell you, the next difference
Yes.
is spelling. The spelling of verbs. Yes. So, here. Spelling of verbs. So, American spelling tends to be more simplified, maybe easier to remember. When it comes to verbs in English, sometimes people who've learned American English are confused. For example, the verb burn.
Right, burn.
The past tense of burn is burnt.
Burnt. So you have like a T in the end, not a D, right?
Yes, because it sounds like burnt. You burnt the toast. You burnt the dinner. Yeah?
Yes.
Now, Americans spell it like a regular verb, burned, ed.
So
burned.
ed.
But British put the T on it because it sounds like a T.
Why?
I think it's something to do with Shakespeare,
right?
A long time ago.
Must be.
And it could be something to do with the origins of English coming from German.
Right.
I think that's because I did learn German, and
there's a big possibility.
It's a huge possibility. Another one is funnily enough, the verb spell. So, how do you spell the past tense of spell?
Spelled?
Spelt, it sounds like, so in English we spell it with a T.
Right.
S-P-E single L-T, spelt.
So a T in the end. So if you see it as like with ED in the end or letter T, they are both correct. They just come from different places.
You can just say, how is this word spelt? If it's British, S-P-E-L-T.
Perfect.
If it's American, S-P-E-double-L. ED.
Big difference. So difference with L and difference in the end with ED and T.
Exactly.
Good.
Then we've got the verb dream. Now, dream sounds regular, but in English pronunciation, the Brits, we pronounce it, are you ready? Dreamt.
No way. No way.
Yeah.
I always said dreamed.
Yeah, no. I'm sorry, I've always said dreamt. I've never dreamt of that.
So American, dreamed.
Yeah.
Brits, dreamt.
Yeah.
Dreamed, dreamt. Dreamed, dreamt.
Have you ever dreamt of becoming a millionaire?
I have.
So have I. Yeah, so we just pronounce it. We don't say dreamed, we say dreamt. So that's
Dreamt.
another difference.
Another one.
And then there's this one where the Americans are totally illogical, in my opinion. Dive.
That makes no sense.
The past tense of dive is a regular verb, dived.
No sense at all.
Well, Americans, they've made it irregular and changed it completely to dove.
Why again? So
Dove.
Americans will say that the past of to dive is dove, right?
Yeah.
In Britain,
Dived.
dived. I would never say this is a regular verb. I mean, do you consider it a regular verb just because it ends with ed?
Yeah, I suppose dive, dived, dived. Dived, easy. Easy.
Right.
I dived in Thailand. Have you ever dived in Hawaii? I have dived in both places. But Americans, they dove.
They dove.
They dove.
Like the bird.
Like a dove. Yeah, but anyway, they pronounce it dove.
Right, so they spell it, the spell is the same, dove.
As dove. D-O-V-E. It's strange.
Dove and dove. Dove, dove.
Yeah.
Different words, same spelling.
Yeah, and English just say dived. So actually, the British English is actually more logical here.
I always said that. People don't believe me.
Right, now, moving on to other spellings, let's look at some difference in spelling. The word's the same, but it's spelt differently.
Right.